So I
Good
think we
morning.
can, no, sir, there is not much delay. We took the time as a market, even a networking session. So I think we can start now.
Okay.
Okay, so a warm welcome to all of you. Today we have gathered here virtually for the third day of Powering the Future Summit 2022, organized by IEEE PES Young Professionals. I immensely welcome you all to witness this wonderful session. I, Devika Muglidran, would like to welcome each and everyone present here for this auspicious occasion. Before we begin, I would like to thank each and every one of you who made this event possible. So, as we know, what are we here for? It's a session on career switching, a hurdle or advancement. With this, students will be able to answer the following questions. Is it okay to change career? Should pursue a master's degree? They will be introduced to top soft skills to boost their career, public speaking, leadership, mentorship, networking, and emotional intelligence. So with that, let me invite our prestigious guest, Eugenio Germalio, Distinguished Toastmaster and Toastmaster International. Eugenio Germalio has a unique passion for serving others by sharing his 40 plus years of experience in corporate America. He credited much of his success to his ability to connect with people on a very personal level. Gino is a professional speaker, a consultant specialized in construction and engineering, a mentorship and networking expert. He has shared his expertise through coaching professionals and teaching students at Florida International University, Miami-Dade College, where he currently is a professor, and OSHA authorized trainer at Wall State CC OTIEC. He is also very passionate about professional and personal development training and sharing in expertise with the next generation of students, professionals, and leaders. So, sir, we are very pleasure to have you here, and the stage is all yours.
Hey, great morning, everybody. My name is Eugenio Jaramillo, con el pelo amarillo. Eugenio is a tongue twister, so you can call me Gino. That's a much easier way to address me. Today, we'll be talking about, is it okay to switch your career? Is it a hurdle or an advantage? How many of you know what you will be doing for the next 40 years? Anybody? Anybody have a clear picture of what they're going to do for 40 years? Probably not, unless you're going to be like a brain surgeon and you're dedicated to that. I thought that I would illustrate the career changing, career switching with my own life and my own career, and I try to relate it to you. So I am lovingly known as the Purple Squirrel. The name of my company is PS Trusted Advisors, which is Purple Squirrel Trusted Advisors. What is a purple squirrel? It's a term used by recruiters to describe that elusive candidate with precisely the right amount of education, experience, qualifications. In essence, I'm a Renaissance man, and I'll tell you why. As mentioned in my intro, I graduated from the University of South Florida with a degree in electrical engineering. So I'm pleased to be talking to fellow electrical engineers or future electrical engineers. After about 5 years of working in computer science, oddly enough, I decided to enroll in a Master's of Business Administration program at the University of Miami. And it was 2.25 years of Saturdays, and I got my MBA. Right after I graduated from the University of South Florida, I worked at a small company at that time that made what they call super mini computers. They were very fast. And I became a computer engineer working in the input output special projects department, designing hardware, firmware, and software, and doing a lot of troubleshooting, traveling to customer sites, figuring out why their machines are not working. I was there for about 5 years and I was bored out of my mind. I couldn't take that sitting in a cubicle all day programming behind a terminal. Got very bored. I didn't like it. One day I heard a story from two men that were talking. I overheard their conversation, and they were the leaders. One guy was, whatever his position was, it was the highest technical position that we had. We used to be called members of the technical staff. The other guy was a software engineer, best one that we had in the company. They were having a conversation about a gate that needed to trigger in a certain amount of time. And he told the guy, hey, look, you have to do your trigger within 9 nanoseconds. So they were arguing about 9 billionths of a second. And I thought to myself, there's no way I'm ever going to get this. You know, I'm 23 years old and I see these guys 45, 50 years old. That was not me. So I made this decision to join my father, who had retired from the cargo industry, aviation cargo, got a nice little bonus to retire. And then my grandfather passed away and left us some money. So we went down south, West Miami, and we purchased some land and we became real estate developers. We brought water, sewer, power, drainage, power, data, cable to this development. There were 209 homes. We did really well, but then a huge crisis emerged because some thieves created what was known as the savings and loan crisis. Savings and loan is a type of bank, and they went out of business, went bankrupt. There was a thing formed by the government called the Resolution Trust Corp. And that was the end of my real estate business. So sometimes in life, it's not what you know, but who you know. But in the meantime, I had to feed my family. So I became basically a salesman. And all of these experiences prepared me for the next experience. So I trained young college students on how to sell knives, cutlery, we called it. And like I said, not what you know, but who you know. We knew some people. My brother had gone up to the University of Louisville and helped the kicker for the University of Miami get through his master's program. My brother got his master's of art in teaching. But Jeff came back down to Clearwater, and we met these people from Clearwater that were just starting this franchise. I'm sure you guys have seen it around. I brought the first one to Miami-Dade County. It's still sitting there on Bird Road and 107th Avenue. And that lasted a little while because I had to sell out. The banks did not believe that a franchise would make it. Plus, restaurants are notoriously failing businesses. So I had to move on. And what happened is my friends that built some of my homes down south wanted to hire me as an estimator. And I told them, listen, I don't know anything about construction estimating. He said, no, you'll be fine. We'll train you. We'll teach you. Well, guess what? There was no teaching. There was no training. It was on the job. Get the experience while you're doing it. So I did become an estimator for construction projects, mainly public housing. Then I moved on to what is known as project engineering. That's where you gather all the data and the drawings and the shop drawings and the submittals to be processed for whatever project you're working on. Then I was promoted to the field, where you actually go out to a job site and hang out in a trailer at the job site, and started building elementary school. No, yeah, it was an elementary school. And then after that, I did a mental health facility. I did quite a few projects around Miami-Dade County, being elevated to a senior project manager. After that, there's a little bit of a joke that I landed at the airport in Miami. This picture you're seeing now is the airport in Fort Lauderdale. And I became a project executive. We had a joint venture. I did $255 million worth of work that I led for 5 years, super profitably, safe, quality, happy owner. And I took early retirement because on my 55th birthday, I said, I'm not going to do this much longer. And I figured out that at 59 and a half, you can retire, withdraw your funds from 401k. So one piece of advice that I have for you, if any of your firms that you go work at, join the 401k early. The earlier you join it, the better your portfolio will be and more funds that you'll have for retirement or to start a business or to buy a house or whatever you want to do. But please make sure you're part of your 401k. So the reason I did 59 and a half is because the IRS in the United States, I don't know if most of you are in the United States or not, they do not penalize you for withdrawing your funds and rolling it over to another individual retirement account or a Roth IRA. And I took that advantage and I went and traveled the world for like 10 months. But and all the time I stayed as a consultant with them. They landed this project here. I helped them land this project. It's a $125 million Terminal 4 Eastern expansion at the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. Right in the picture, you can see the jet bridges. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but it was going to be 8 gates. These are just 6 right now. Great project. I had the best team, the most competent team to put this together. We were rated very highly by the owner and the construction manager. But then one day, oddly, one of the brothers texted me early in the morning and said, "Hey, Gino, can you have lunch with me?" And I said, "Okay." And I had a weird gut feeling in my stomach. And, this guy had not invited me to lunch many times. And sure enough, when I get there, he said, "Gino, we love you. You add value. You're a tremendous asset to our firm, but we got in trouble financially here in South Florida and Texas and in Panama. And we're sorry to say this, but we got to let you go." And this was after 25 years of service. So I was forced to retire. Now, I did stay on as a consultant for a little while, but these guys got in trouble again. And I don't know if you heard of this project, and I am associated with FIU. You see my hat. There was a bridge. We were building a pedestrian bridge. I was no longer with the firm, and that bridge collapsed, killed 6 people. So it was a huge tragedy. They had to file for bankruptcy and go away. So thank goodness I wasn't there anymore. Karma is terrible. So during that time, that was 25 years there, I developed some really bad pains in my shoulders. Both my shoulders had bursitis and tendonitis and basically age. It comes with age and it comes with how you sleep. So I discovered acupuncture. And my acupuncturist told me, "Gino, you're a little bit overweight. You need to do some exercise." And I got this flyer that came in the mail from my local community. And it showed that there were these yoga classes at my clubhouse. And I paid for my clubhouse. So these were free. And I went and started doing yoga every Saturday. It was painful. I used to cry. And somebody challenged me and said, "Hey, listen, you'd be a really good yoga instructor." And I did. I pursued it. And I taught at LA Fitness and other clubs around South Florida for like 5 years. And then I moved on because one of the consultants that I had hired back when I was working for that company, he said, "Hey, listen, I'm going to Jordan and I need somebody to replace me. You have an engineering degree. You also have a master's, but can you come and teach some construction management courses at FIU?" And I said, "Sure." I took on the challenge. So that's one of the things about life is that you have to say yes to a lot of opportunities to figure out if it's a no. And it was great. It fit fantastic. I joined Toastmasters and I met a gentleman there that was the head of the School of Continuing Education and Professional Development for Miami-Dade College in downtown Miami, the Wilson campus. And I was able to teach some courses there. So I became an adjunct professor. And then through my professorship, I reconnected with one of my students that I taught back in 2009. He became a professor in 2018. I was rehired in 2019. We now have this wonderful relationship where he's a consultant independent, I'm an independent consultant, and we find each other work. He teaches safety classes at Volunteer State Community College online because the pandemic allowed OSHA to make the decision that, look, we don't do live classes anymore. We could do online. So I became an OSHA Training Institute Education Center instructor. Awesome. I love it. Now, during that time that I retired for those 10 months, I did open up my own gallery and studio. And I've made 250 pieces of found object art. The examples are there on the left. I used to bring artists into my gallery and they would display their works. And that's one of my artists right there. I did mention Toastmaster International. I've now been a member for over 8 years. I've been a member of 4, 5, 6, 7 different clubs, sometimes at a time. Right now, I'm a member of Doral Toastmasters. And with my fellow professor and fellow Toastmaster, we chartered a club at FIU Engineering Center. And that was a big achievement because that's something that I've wanted to do because of this distinguished Toastmaster designation. It's the highest educational award that you can achieve in Toastmasters. And I did it in 39 months, my first 39 months. You see the date there, May 24, 2017. Since becoming a DTM, I've now changed that acronym to Devoted to Mentoring. And that's what I like to do. I like to mentor people, which is what I'm doing with you guys today. So I became a professional speaker. There I am speaking at FIU. And then when I travel, I always try to go to a Toastmasters club wherever I go. I've been in Washington, D.C., in Dallas, Texas, in Vancouver, British Columbia. And I went to Colombia, where I'm from, and I discovered that there were only 2 clubs in Colombia, in Bogota. One was in English, one was in Spanish, and they allowed me to speak at both of them. And I gave my first speech in Spanish. That was pretty awesome. I did become an expert in construction, so I'm a consultant. I got retained by a condominium in Brickell that had a lot of damage from Hurricane Irma. And I became this building appraiser, and I did it for 40 months. Initially, they were going to get 0 from the insurance company, but because of my efforts, they were able to settle at $8.222 million. I also help people with their speaking. In the construction business or just any business, you have to present. And what I've discovered in my career is that those that can communicate get chosen to present. Those that can present get noticed. Those that get noticed get promoted. You will have to present yourself in front of a group one day. It could be a potential client. It could be other peers in your company. You're going to be selling an idea or a project or an initiative. So public speaking, I'll touch on it later, as one of the top 5 soft skills. I also became a member of SHEP because Steve Jobs had this wonderful commencement exercise speech at Stanford University where he said, you can connect the dots looking backwards, but you cannot connect the dots moving forward. I joined SHEP because of Toastmasters. I was asked to speak at Florida Atlantic University. And at that speaking engagement, I found out about another engagement. And now I'm part of they have an event called Leaders SHEP. Do you guys, is anybody familiar with SHEP? Do you have SHEP in your college, in your school? If you're still in school? Yes? No? Well, find out about it and join it. It's a wonderful organization. It's been around close to 50 years. They just had their convention in Charlotte, North Carolina. It probably had about 10,000 students there. The Fortune 1000 of the United States go there to recruit engineers of all walks, not just electrical, mechanical, industrial, every kind of engineer. So because of SHEP, I've gotten these speaking opportunities to speak to my perfect target audience, young, impressionable college students, engineers, or folks that are in STEM. Related to STEM, I was chosen to become a board member of the Brinker Education Initiative, founded by a lady named Mary Ellen Brinker, who I met at a SHEP event. And I go and speak at their luncheons. They give scholarships to students. They give 2,000. They used to give 2,000. Now it's $2,500 a year. Not a year. I'm sorry, for the 4 years that you would be in college. And I love it. I love helping people. I also became an author. So on my 65th birthday, during the pandemic, I was able to find a venue and I launched my book. This book is all the adventures, musing, anecdotes of my life. And I turned them into lessons, things that you can draw out of my experience for your experience, so you can make good decisions. In summary, I'm not bragging about my life. My life is my life. I'm inspiring you to lead a fulfilled life, that it's okay to change careers. I'm in the position to share my knowledge with you. So I hope you got that message that it's okay to change. It's a meandering path. It's not a straight line in life. So don't fear about changing careers. You will be gathering what I call transferable skills. So being trained as an electrical engineer, I knew the scientific method. I was very good at mathematics. That allowed me to be an estimator and to be really good at managing the money, which is the two things you do as a project manager: manage the money and manage the time, besides managing people. So right now, I'm going to introduce you to these soft skills that you need to be accumulating during your career changes or no career changes. Now, there was a question brought up earlier that I get from many, many students. Hey, professor, should I get my MBA or should I get a master's in whatever? And what I tell people is, listen, experience is more important or more valuable than education, especially at higher level. So go ahead and graduate, get your degree, start working. How do you know you're going to like what you chose? Now, most of you, I think, are electrical engineers. I think there's some computer engineers in here. What if you go work for a computer company like I did and you don't like it? And then you got a master's in it. What are you going to do with that? Now, as far as masters, what I say is this: go ahead and work for about 5 years, then make the decision which master program you want to join. There's so many out there. I did the Saturday one, it was awesome. But the one master's that I do recommend for everybody is the Masters of Business Administration, because that just makes you more well-rounded. It makes you a business person. It makes you a person that's more aware of how to run a business, not just a technical expert in whatever field you're in. So let's touch on the soft skills. What are they? First of all, they're personal attributes that enable anyone, to interact effectively and harmoniously with other humans. And back in the day, it used to be that the smartest person in the group, in other words, the person that had the highest IQ, was usually chosen to be the boss or the leader. However, these days that has changed. The person with the most soft skills usually ends up in leadership positions. It happened to me. I was not a great student. I was maybe a B- when I graduated from electrical engineering school. Now, I was an A student when I got my MBA because I'm much more mature. I had a better program. I was working, I had a family. So soft skills are what will separate you and make you be chosen for leadership positions. Now, why soft skills? Because strengthening soft skills is the best investment you can make, as they never go out of style. Now, strengthening soft skills is one of the best investments you can make in your career, as they never go out of style. LinkedIn Learning said that, a guy named Paul Petrone. Plus, the rise of artificial intelligence is only making soft skills increasingly important, as they are precisely the type of skills robots can't automate. And this is a slide that I got from LinkedIn, desired skills. So talent developers, they're always looking for leadership, but you can see there that there's other soft skills besides the ones I'm going to show you now. So here's my top 5. Public speaking. Many of you might be experiencing a phenomenon known as glossophobia, and that is the fear of public speaking. In fact, 3/4 of the population suffer from some form of speech anxiety. Now, I'm going to give you a little tip on when you do have to speak, make sure you bring water with you and drink a little bit of water as you get announced and get ready to go up and speak. Because what happens is your body goes into fight or flight response. And that's that panic, that fear that you get. But drinking a little bit of water tricks your body into thinking, oh, I'm not going to die. This man's not going to kill me just because you speak. So drink a little bit of water. But the number one tip I can give you, well, let me give you what Warren Buffett says about this. He says that mastering the art of public speaking is the single greatest skill to boost your career. He goes on to say that you can earn 40% more income during your career. Now, where can you go and practice this skill? Because practice is the second tip I give you. I have a saying that I learned from a world champion of public speaking from Toastmasters. He says that he never turns down stage time. Now, I turn down stage time never, whether it's free or I'm being paid to speak. I always say yes. I've spoken at so many places that I don't have this fear anymore. And I find that if I don't speak, I get rusty. So you have to practice. Here's the stages of mastery, and it just has to do with practice. First level is practice, second level is more practice, and then the third level is Steve Jobs level, which is lots of practice. So practicing helps remove the fear, practicing improves the speaking skills. Now, what's the other thing you're going to learn at Toastmasters? You're going to learn how to communicate, because you have to prepare, rehearse, and deliver several 5 to 7 minute speeches. So you have to be concise, you have to be on point, and develop a well-organized speech with a beginning, a body, and an end that all ties together. The other thing you'll learn is that Toastmasters, like any volunteer organization, like I'm sure the YP or this group is, you don't get paid to volunteer, so it's tough to lead in that position. But Toastmasters International, their tagline is where leaders are made. Now, how do they do that? Well, they give you opportunities to serve on the board. There's 7 positions. There's president, there's 3 vice presidents, 1 for education, 1 for membership, 1 for public relations, a secretary, and a treasurer. Most clubs have secretary and treasurer and president. So you will get this chance to lead, because leadership is my second top 5 soft skill. So you have to listen as well. That's the other skill that you're going to learn at Toastmasters, because we check your grammar, we check your crutch words like and this slide just brought it home for me. which is leaders who don't listen will eventually be surrounded by people who have nothing to say. So you have to listen to your subordinates. You have to get their ideas, get their buy-in so that you can lead them better. There's a second part of the meeting, which is the first part is prepared speakers. The second part is impromptu speaking. We call it table topics. A person will go up, generally with the theme of the day, or use the speeches as fodder for their questions, and they'll ask a question and they'll call on somebody randomly. And you need to get up and speak for at least 1 minute, no more than 2 minutes. Now, where would you need this vital skill of impromptu speaking? The number one answer is at an interview. You do not know what you will be asked. You can rehearse, you can look at all the practice questions about what they ask you, but there's nothing like being able to stop and think and stay calm and deliver a nice answer without ers and ahs and all broken up. Now, one of the cool things is after that, those first two parts of the meeting, you get feedback in the form of a written and a verbal evaluation from another member. And that's how we grow as human. We need feedback. We need feedback from people. And that's how you know if you're getting better or not, or how to improve or where to improve, because life is all about improvement. One of the cool things that I learned is people have stories. People say, oh, Gino, what I'm going to talk about? Well, talk about your life and your experiences and what you know. So people come with stories, amazing stories. We got this one kid that's into wrestling. We got another one that's into travel. We got another one that loves wine, yoga. I mean, there's so many topics because we are containers of stories. We have content to share with others. And that's what I'm doing with you today. I'm sharing my story, my content. And that's what you do as a public speaker, is tell stories. Now here's my top Toastmasters tips. Number one, find a club that's convenient to both your location and your time. Now, I wrote this pre-pandemic. Because of the pandemic, many, many clubs went to the online environment with Zoom. We did it for like 7 months. We saw that it wasn't working. So we went to live October 1st, 2020. So we've been live for 2 years, no issues, no problems. Our club is thriving. People flock to our club because people are sick of Zoom and they want to be live. Now, you can find a club near you. There's 16,000 clubs. Make sure it's convenient to your location and your time. Remember that location is not so important because you can meet online. But if they are meeting physically, then you need to make sure it's close to where you live, work, play, or pray. Number two is you can visit as many clubs as you want, as many times as you want, for free. Now, membership is very, very affordable. It's $7.50 per month. And usually clubs meet 4 times a month. That's a bargain. So I do encourage the visiting of clubs because you'll get the vibe, the feel, how they make you feel comfortable or warm and inviting. And if you like the group, go ahead and commit. After you visit a few clubs, you say, hey, I like this club because of the people. In fact, life is all about people. And then you make a commitment. You say you're going to join and you will go to every meeting. Going to the meetings, whether you're speaking or not, you will learn something. Toastmasters is like the public speaking gym. How do you get big muscles? Right now, we're going to have our holidays and Christmas is coming. And then January 1st, what do people do? They make their New Year's resolutions and they say they're going to lose weight and they're going to build body. And they do that at the gym, but they only do it for a little while. Gym memberships spike in January, and then they go way down the rest of the year. So you go to Toastmasters to practice your public speaking. And the last one is, not only will a mentor be assigned to you to help you with your first 6 speeches, but you can look at the crowd and find someone that you would like to mentor you. Okay. Now let's move on to leadership skills. This man here is a famous author back in the 70s, and he said that only 3 things happen naturally in organizations: friction, confusion, and underperformance. Everything else requires leadership. Leadership is required. People want to be led. There is an awful lot of self-proclaimed leaders in the world, but there's a lack of leadership. What is the purpose of leadership? It's to serve others. It's real simple. It's not about you, it's about them. Here's what Martin Luther said: life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? What are you doing to serve others? And in that service, watch the person that you become. Here's what John Maxwell says about leadership: it's not about titles, positions, or flowcharts. Flowcharts, he meant organizational chart. It's about one life influencing another. I influence so many lives. It's crazy. I told you about my fellow professor. He was a student of mine, became a professor, joined me at Toastmasters. As part of the requirement to become a distinguished Toastmasters, he has to do this thing called the Youth Leadership Program. I have another young lady that I've been mentoring for like 20 years. We became friends. We live in the same city. She worked for me. She's also part of Toastmasters. She and Brent are the leaders of this youth leadership program, which is being done for high school students, juniors and seniors. 8 sessions, about 2 hours a session. And there's another young lady that just wanted to observe and help. So by me influencing those 3 people are now influencing about 12 soon to be college students. Now, leaders are passionate about developing and emerging leaders. So the story I have here is, I got into this business kind of like from the top down. I came in at the top. I was never a block mason or a carpenter. I didn't work with my hands or physically. And I never feared training and teaching and developing my subordinates. But I had a superintendent that did come up through the ranks. He worked as a laborer, then he was a block mason, then he became a surveyor, then he was a foreman, then he became an assistant superintendent and a superintendent. Now, because he rose through those ranks, he feared all the people below him, because he thought if he taught them everything, that they would take his job. I didn't care. I wanted them to take my job so that I could move up to another level. So let's go back to this. To be a leader, you have to be passionate about developing emerging leaders. That's why I'm here, helping you develop into a leader, because that's where you're really going to thrive and be successful. Because as a leader, as a true leader, I didn't want to create more followers. For instance, when I was a yoga instructor, I didn't want more yoga students. I wanted to find the next instructors so you can create leaders. Here's what Steve Jobs said about it: management is about persuading people to do things they don't want to do, while leadership is about inspiring people to do things they never thought they could. Now, here's what John Maxwell says about these levels of leadership. The first one we saw is, you will be assigned a position. They'll say, hey, you're a great engineer. We need you to lead those 5 people over there. So you will get this position or title, and people, which gives you certain rights. Now, people follow you because they have to. You've been designated as the boss, so they have to follow you. The next level of leadership is when people grant you permission because you've developed relationships now. You've developed them, they like you, you've got a nice relationship, and they follow you because they want to. The next level is called production. It's based on results. People follow you because of what you've done for the organization. So this has to do with results, pure numbers results. How much did you increase in sales? What profit did you make? One of the things I say about production is that you all are developing your resumes to get a job. Make sure you keep track of results because corporate America cares about metrics, measurements. What have you done lately? The next level is called people development, which I just spoke about in the previous slide, where you try to reproduce yourself and people will follow you because of what you have done for them or for others. And then level 5 is a level that is very difficult to reach. Not many people reach it. That's where you gain respect from everyone, your peers, industry leaders, your bosses, because of who you are and what you represent. I mean, it's crazy for me when I go to these chef conferences or conventions and I'm walking the floor and I don't see, and all of a sudden I hear, hey, purple squirrel. And I'm like, wow, who, and people remember me. They forget how to say my name. They forget my name, but they remember the purple squirrel, not because of the purple squirrel, but because of what I represent to them. They look at me as a leader, as a successful leader in the business. Now, this slide here is to get you thinking about the old school way of leadership versus the new school way of leadership. So traditional leaders, they see leadership as a rank to obtain. That's level 1. Whereas servant leaders, they see leadership as an opportunity to serve others. The traditional leader uses power and control to drive performance. That's like using a stick, where the servant leader shares power to control and drive engagement. That's where you're using the carrot. So there's a stick, there's the carrot. They measure success through output, the results, right? But servant leaders measure success through growth and development. I love seeing people thrive. I love seeing people get promoted. Traditional leaders speak. Servant leaders listen. And traditional leaders are self-centered. They believe that everything is about them, where servant leaders understand it's not about them, it's about others. Great leaders are not the best at everything. They find people who are the best at different things and get them all on the same team. That's what led to my success, was being able to fashion the best teams that I could get. As soon as I smelled weakness or I saw somebody wasn't committed to the project or the team, I would get rid of them. I'm sorry. So I have a saying here: hire slowly, fire quickly. Most companies are desperate, especially these days. There's a shortage of 450,000 workers in the workforce, and they'll take anybody. They don't vet them. And then later they find out, oh, wow, that person not really as good as we thought. And then they take their time firing them. So at the firm I was working, I said, hey, this guy, we got to let him go. Oh, but Thanksgiving is here. And then Christmas. So they always postpone it for some reason. No, if you find incompetency, get rid of it. It's going to drag you down. Now, here's the key performance indicators. KPI is something that you're going to learn as a manager. You will be judged on KPI, but I've changed KPI to keep people interested, keep people informed, keep people involved, keep people inspired. That's what a true leader does. Here's my leadership tips, which relates to about asking for help. So the first thing is you have to figure out for yourself. I didn't have all the answers. I didn't know everything, but I figured it out. along the way. If you wait for someone else to provide orders, directions, or solutions, then you're a follower. You're not a leader. The second concept is help. The definition is any action that assists in the attainment of the goal or destination. So a leader provides help to group members to attain the goal or destination. But here's the most important one. People are afraid to do this. A leader asks for help from the appropriate peer or expert. You're allowed to hire experts when they become thwarted in the attainment of the goal or destination. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And along the way, help others. More leadership tips. A leader should always work to establish and maintain good attitude and high morale. I don't know if you've ever worked somewhere where the morale was terrible. You had a toxic leader. You don't want to work there. So you have to create this environment. So when all goes wrong, when you're all discouraged, when you're overwhelmed and faced with adversity, and your back is against the wall and all seems lost, you must decide whether you will survive or whether you will succumb. Survive. Let's talk about my next top 5 soft skill is mentorship. Definition of a mentor is an experienced and trusted advisor, a guide, a guru, a counselor, a consultant. Let me tell you the difference between a travel guide and a travel agent. So I'm watching the World Cup, and 4 years ago, I went to the World Cup in Russia. And I called this travel agent and I said, listen, I need airline tickets and hotel stays because I'm going to Russia. And so he just says, hey, here's the ticket, here's the reservation, bye-bye. But the guide, the travel guide, is someone that will go with you, hold you by the hand and tell you, Gino, go on this airline, get these flights, go to these restaurants, avoid this other area, stay at this hotel. You get the difference? I had a young lady that was with me at South Bay Toastmasters. She was getting her degree in actuarial degree. And she said, Gino, I'm graduating. I'm starting a new business. And I want you to coach me on how to become a distinguished Toastmaster. I remember I told you I did it in 39 months. She did it in 29. Why? Because I showed her the way. Now, why should you have a mentor? Because one good mentor could be more informative than a college education. I'm not telling you not to go to college. And more valuable than a decade's worth of income. Why wouldn't you have a mentor? Here's what John Maxwell, who I referred to earlier, says. True success comes only when every generation continues to develop the next. One of the things that I observed of corporate America is I'm a baby boomer. And you guys know the generations, right? X, Y, Z, and now there's Alpha. Z, by the way, is Zoomers, anybody 21 and younger. The baby boomers have retired in droves. That bank of knowledge, that wealth of knowledge is disappearing from corporate America. That's why I stay active as a consultant, as a mentor, as a professor, because I want to pass on my information, my knowledge, and develop the next generation of leaders, because I know it's my duty to mentor. We're losing that. The story I have about that is this woman tells me, I forget if it was her daughter or her daughter-in-law, that she had a baby and she was figuring out how to nurse the baby. There's many ways to do it. You can cradle them, you can hold the head here, put it to the breast. And she didn't ask her mother-in-law or her mother. She Googled it. Now, why would you do that? So look for others to mentor you. Here's the distinction that I make between a coach, a mentor, and a sponsor. So a coach talks to you. It's like Aaron Rodgers, great quarterback. He has a coach and he prepares him for the next game. However, a mentor talks with you. and develops a plan. It's a much longer relationship. And a sponsor is someone in the firm that talks about you when you're not even in the room and tells others to keep an eye on you because you are a talent and you could be developed as a leader. You may never meet your sponsor, but they're out there. Now, who could be your mentor? Someone you respect and admire. Someone that acts like you desire. Someone that's in the position you seek. Look for patterns of interest. Do you both have the same degrees? Do you both like to play golf? Look for the things that are common between the two of you. Research their career history. How did they get there? What degrees did they have? What positions did they hold? What companies did they work at? But nothing turns off a person more than a blatant request for mentorship. So you can't go up to someone and say, please, 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 please mentor me. No, what you do is you invite them to a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or hang out after a conference or after a meeting and ask them questions and get a conversation going and develop a relationship. I have another young man that I've known for 18 years. And for the first 10 years, I didn't know that he was following me. I didn't know I was his mentor until we talked about it. So that's how you get it. And I became his mentor for 20 years almost. Now, there are some types of programs out there, mentor protege programs. There's 71% of the Fortune 100 companies have a mentorship program. Do you think that's a coincidence? No, that's because they do it on purpose. So corporate America loves formal programs. They love to set metrics and assign you a mentor, and they make the relationships. They want you to do reports, how often you're going to meet, how long are you going to meet, what are the results, fill this report. That's very, very formal. And I get that. That's what corporate America does. But the informal ones are the best ones. And I have 3 people that through that informal relationship, they are my lifelong proteges. And what's funny about it is that the professor that I told you about, he's probably 20 plus years younger than me. In order to teach at Volunteer State Community College, I had to get an OSHA 500, excuse me, and an OSHA 510 course. And my fellow professor taught me. So in a twist of fate, my student became my teacher. And that's the nice symbiotic relationship that I see these days between the older generation and the younger generation. The younger generation is top notch when it comes to technology. They grew up with it. It's part of them. The older generation, not so much. So the older generation can give you all the wisdom, but the younger generation can give back by helping them with technology. Well, we get on these Zoom calls with some people that are older and they have so much trouble. How do I share my screen? Can you hear me? Can you see me? So help those people and they will help you. It's not a one-way street. Hey, there's an app for that. Don't y'all love apps? What's the app? LinkedIn. LinkedIn has an application where you can request a mentor. So when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. The second best time is now, right now, today. So I give you this proverb because it's never too late. It's never too late to plant a tree. Where can you find your mentor? Certainly at your workplace, wherever you live, where you play, where you pray, where you go to school, there are mentors. And there's mentors for different things. For instance, there could be a Toastmasters mentor. What if you're buying a house? Don't you want somebody to kind of help you through that process? Not your real estate broker, someone that will guide you through the process of buying a home or buying a car or buying insurance or planning a trip. Let's talk about the fourth top 5 skills that I love. Networking. Now, I know networking can be like kryptonite for many of you, but it is the key resource, because say your company lets you go, like happened to me after 25 years of service, they keep the job, but you keep all the contacts, all the network, all the experience, all the knowledge, and you move that forward. So it's super important to develop a network. Now, here's my networking cheat sheet. Number 1, be yourself. That means be authentic. Don't be somebody fake. Don't lie. Be your genuine, authentic self. Be a giver. Don't always ask for stuff. Offer things. Do ask questions and listen actively. What does that mean? That means you face the person, you make good eye contact, a firm handshake, and you don't fidget, you don't move around, you don't look around, you don't look at your phone, you listen actively. And then, of course, follow up. Now, when I go to conferences, conventions, networking events, I don't ask for business cards. I wait for the person to ask me for mine, or I will ask for their card, and then later I'll look them up on LinkedIn. I'm a big proponent of LinkedIn. And this is how I follow up. So I'll say, hey, Larry, it was very nice to meet you at the SHEP convention. I hope that we can help each other. And just follow up and connect with them on LinkedIn. More networking. If you're not networking, then you're not working. You must network. Your network is your net worth. That's how valuable it is. Now, LinkedIn, I hope that you guys can take out your camera right now and scan that QR code, and I connect with everybody. And here's what I can do for you. And I think I offered this last time. It's funny, last time that I spoke at this event, I was in Tennessee, in the Smoky Mountains, and I offered to help people with their resume. So you send me your resume in Word to that email address below, and I will edit it using track changes. I'll send it back to you to accept or reject the changes and make some modifications. For instance, many of you like to put objective. Objective is old. The new thing to put there is an executive summary. What's an executive summary? It is a summary of your skills, and you use the buzzwords or keywords from the job ad to put it up there. And then how much experience do you have? How many years in that line of work? So you can send me your resume. I'll fix it up, send it back as a PDF. I will post it on my LinkedIn feed, and I will tag you, and I will tag a gentleman named Oleg Vishnowski, and he has 3 million followers. So the least amount of views that you will get for your resume is 1,000. The first lady that young lady that asked me to do this was a SHEP member, graduating with a biomedical engineering degree in Columbia University. She said, hey, professor, can you look at my resume? Sure. Can you post it on LinkedIn? Yeah. And then I came up with this thing about tagging Oleg because he asked to, and he has 3 million followers. So do take advantage of that little service that I have for you. How many connections do you have? How complete is your profile? You must have a complete profile, including a professional headshot. And does it match your resume? It has to match one for one. You know what? You're going to submit your resume to companies for jobs, and one of the first things they'll do, and I encourage you to have your LinkedIn profile link in your resume, they're going to look you up on LinkedIn. So stay active there. Here's my top networking tips. Number one is be on time. And to me, this is the expression that I came up with for my students. Early is the new on time. On time is late, and late is unacceptable. So get there early. Why? It'll reduce nervousness. You can scope out the room. You can see where you're going to stand. You see the flow. You see where you're going to sit. Have a good attitude. Attitude is everything. What if somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, Gino, how you doing?" "Oh, my dog died. My pickup truck is broken. And I just got fired." No. "Hey, Gino, how you doing?" "I'm doing great. I lead a blessed life. I'm wonderful." Much better. I give you permission to talk to strangers. Did your parents tell you as a kid, don't talk to strangers? Well, that's when you're a kid. Now as an adult and you go to a networking event, that's the whole idea. You need to talk to strangers and get comfortable with doing that. Don't stick with your clique, with your little crowd at lunch, or if there's food being served, breakfast or lunch or dinner. Sit at a table where you don't know anybody and meet everybody. Do be present, be in the moment. Don't be on your phone. And the last one I already said is be yourself, be authentic. People will know when you're lying, when you're exaggerating. Now let's talk about emotional intelligence. I already mentioned that emotional intelligence is highly valued and favored in corporate America versus intelligence quotient or a high IQ. Now, what is emotional intelligence? It's perceiving emotions, understanding emotions, managing your emotions, and using emotions in yourself and in others. So emotional intelligence is an individual ability to understand and use emotion in themselves and others to guide their actions. Now, why should we care about this? Because being able to understand your emotions is fundamental to understanding what it is that will make you more high functioning and lead you to flourish. Emotions get in the way all the time, and you have to understand them. This is a great article. I can share this, not the PowerPoint. I don't share my PowerPoint, but a PDF. I can share with the people that asked me to be on this call so that you can click on this link and read more about emotional intelligence. Now, what are some of the basic emotions? There's anger, disgust, fear, happiness, sadness, contempt. These are things that you will experience in your life, either at work or at home. And they can control your actions. So be very careful with these basic emotions. Happiness is a good one. The rest, no good. Now, surprise. Most people kind of like surprises. Like I like surprise parties. I like surprise birthday. I had a surprise wedding. I had a surprise home reveal. But bosses and project owners, they don't like surprises. They want to be kept apprised of what's going on because you can't paint them into a corner. You have to allow them enough time to analyze alternatives and figure out different ways to do things. And certainly money is one of the things that gets in there. If you give them only one alternative and it's super expensive, they're not going to like that. Now, here's some of the negative emotions you might feel at work. You might feel some frustration or irritation with others, with the fact that you didn't get promoted, your fellow worker got promoted, and you didn't, so you're frustrated. There could be worry or nervousness. Let me tell you about worry and regret. When you look in the past, when you look backwards, you can come up with a lot of regret of the things you didn't do or the things you did do. And then when you think about the future, you don't know what that future is going to be like. And that tends to generate worry. Now, how do you stay away from worry and regret? Stay in the present moment. Live in the present moment. You can have anger and aggravation at work. You could be angry at your boss. You could be angry at a fellow coworker. You could be angry because somebody took your lunch. You have disdain or dislike for others because one guy that worked for me told me, hey, I don't come here to make friends. I don't come to work to make friends. Just wasn't a people person. You will experience disappointment and unhappiness when you don't get that raise, when you don't get that transfer, when you don't get that job. There will be disappointment and you will be unhappy. Now, here's my top 10 strategies to manage your negative emotions at work. The first one is called compartmentalization. And that is where you leave your negative emotions from home that will affect your work. Leave them at home. Do not bring your personal home issues to the job. Very tempting to do because there's probably a friend there or a peer that you enjoy talking to. Don't bring your problems from home to work. The next one is deep breathing and relaxation techniques. I learned this from yoga. Breathing is the source of life. In fact, without your breath, you would have death. So let's practice a little bit of a deep breathing exercise right now. I don't know if you've ever run into a room and you're in a panic and somebody says, hey, whoa, slow down, stop. Just breathe, relax. So I want everybody to go ahead and take a big deep breath, inhale, bring your shoulders way up to touch your earlobes. Lower your shoulders and blast out the air. Do it one more time. Inhale through your nose, lift up the shoulders, hold. Hey, don't you feel better already? Amazing, huh? Here's the 10-second rule. Before you have an emotional outburst, start counting to 10. And here's how it goes for me. I live in a gated community, and sometimes people are in front of me in the gate. So I'll start counting 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I blast my horn. That's a joke. But yeah, it works. Just count to 10, catch your breath, and relax. The next one is clarify. Always be speaking with clarity. The best example I have for clarity is restaurants. When you go to a restaurant and you order something, doesn't the waiter or waitress read back your order? Make sure they do that. You know who really does this good is fast food. They have screens now that put it on there to make sure your order is correct. So clarify your orders to your subordinates. Clarify what you're trying to say to your boss, because in clarity, it removes all doubt. Okay? Now, blast your anger through exercise. You must exercise. The human body was made to move. And if it doesn't move, it'll be stuck. As a matter of fact, some of you might have these 9-to-5 jobs where you sit at a chair all day behind in a cubicle behind a computer. You need to get up and walk and take breaks. But when you get home, make sure that you run, walk, go to the gym, do yoga, whatever it is that allows your body to move and sweat. Now, never reply or make a decision when angry. The best example I have here is an email. You're going to get an email at 4:59 p.m. on a Friday, right before the weekend, and it just gets to you, makes you super angry, and you want to blast that person. What I say is go ahead and write that email. Put everything down. Don't send it. Sleep on it over the weekend. Come back Monday morning with a fresh perspective. Reread your email and remove all emotions. Make it just the facts. The facts can hurt, but just make it factual. Don't call anybody names. Don't say anything derogatory. So never make a decision when you're angry, because it could lead to violence. Know your triggers. What sets you off? Is it because you're hungry? Is it because you're tired? Is it because you haven't had your afternoon coffee? No. My wife knows every one of my triggers, and she pushes those triggers like a master programmer. But you know what? I know all of hers. The two-way street. But definitely know your own so that something doesn't set you off. Do be respectful. That's one of another soft skill that is often neglected. We need to respect each other these days. There's so much bipartisan things that are going on in this world. Democrats, Republicans. Do be respectful. Do listen. We've lost that. People get unhinged over something silly. Just respect the other people's opinion. You may not agree with it, but you have to be respectful. Apologize for any emotional outburst. If you do happen to not control your feelings and you say something you regret, do be the first person to go and apologize. Be the bigger person. Now, I had an altercation with a safety manager from the construction manager. So I didn't work for him. He didn't work for me. And he told me of a situation. He said, come on out here. And we exchanged some words. It was not nice. But the next day, I called him and I said, listen, I'd like to apologize for my behavior. And we got along much better after that. So do apologize for any outbursts. And never bring your negative emotions from work to home. I know that you have a significant other, your spouse, whoever it may be, that you want to talk about what happened. But if it's super negative, don't bring it home. Keep home as your positive sanctuary. Now, there's other soft skills out there. There's principles and values. So one of the things I tell you when you're looking for a job, look for companies that have principles and values. A lot of them put them on their website. Make sure that they agree with your own personal values. For instance, I can't work for a company that's greedy. I couldn't work for a company like Monsanto that poisons the world. That's just not right. The next soft skill is called belief or faith. We've lost that in this world. Independent thinking versus group thinking. Think for yourself. Teamwork. Geniuses work alone. Everyone else works on a team. And even Albert Einstein had a team. Do care for others, and that's respect. Care about them. Remember, we're here to serve others. And then another soft skill, even though it seems like a hard skill, is financial literacy. If you obtain financial literacy, you will obtain financial freedom. Because with financial illiteracy, you get financially bound, financial disasters that you can make if you're not known about your money. And now we enter the question and answer period. If you guys want to ask me a question, please, the moderator, could someone put it in the chat or read me the questions? I see a question here. Is Toastmasters free to join? No, it's $7.50 per month. Adeline says that a member of Toastmasters, and it really did change his speaking game. Awesome, good testimonial. We got somebody from Pakistan, from Indonesia. Wow, this is great. There's a biannual fee. Yeah, the biannual fee means that you pay for 6 months at a time. That's all. And Aminu, Thank you for the compliment about the session and that you learned. That's what I'm here for you guys to learn, to teach you, coach you, guide you, mentor you. Don't forget about my free resume review service. I do it with love, without any interest. So can we take on some questions now?
Guys, if you have any questions, do put in the chat box or you can directly address that.
Or raise your hand and I'll call on you. No questions, comments?
There is a question in the chat box. Can you
Can you
elaborate
elaborate?
more? Yeah,
On the 401k, you mentioned that we should endeavor to have it. Yeah. Let me tell you a little background history on it first. Back in the 70s, corporations stopped funding your or employees' retirement plan. And it became the burden of the individual to have it. And that law was a chapter of the law is known as 401k. And so many companies have adopted it, and it is a profit sharing program where you contribute funds to this plan, and then the company will match, not 100%, but there's some rules on matching. So for instance, for me, 1 year, because I was on catch-up mode and I could sock away as much as $15,000, $16,000. They had an extra $5,000 bump, and at that time they were matching 1-to-1. So I took $21,000 and turned it into $42,000 right away, without interest, without anything, and it was free money. So join your 401k. Now, if you work in education, I think it's a 401b. It's a different chapter, but you need to be part of it as soon as you can. So there's no sacrifice in it, but if you have to sacrifice, for instance, you might pay $8 to $10 for a Starbucks coffee and a donut or something like that. And you do it every day, that's $50 a week. So just one of those days, take that extra money and leave it in your paycheck. So it comes out of your paycheck, you don't feel it, you are not taxed on it. So you're saving that. Remember, the taxes are deferred for later when you bring it. Yeah, and yeah, out of the 401k is only applicable in the US. So if you work for a United States company, most of them have these 401ks if they're large enough. And my advice is to join them. Let's see, I have a, where do I rank empathy among the soft skills? Well, I think that empathy is a soft skill. So it's definitely in the top 5. And I would say if I had to rank the skills, public speaking is number 1, emotional intelligence is number 2, leadership 3, networking 4, and mentorship 5. Any other comments, questions, concerns? I did have this little chart here for you about the comfort zone versus the growth zone. If you stay in your comfort zone where you feel safe and in control, you won't step out of it because you're going to enter the fear zone that generates lack of self-confidence. You find excuses not to do things. You're affected by others' opinions. Never be affected with what other people think, do, or say. Then you step out into the learning zone where you deal with challenges and problems. So for me, becoming a professor, I had to learn a learning management system. It's called Canvas. When I went to Miami-Dade College, I had to use Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. When I went to Volunteer State Community College, I had to learn eLearn. So I've learned all these platforms in my new life. You can acquire new skills, you extend your comfort zone, and here's where you grow. You'll grow when you find your purpose. A lot of people have passions, Passions fade, but your purpose does not. Live your dream, live your life, set new goals, conquer your objectives, and watch how you grow. Now, I see a question here. It says, any recommended learning platform to master public speaking? Oof. That's a tough one because public speaking is all about practice and just doing it, getting in front of a group and speaking and getting feedback. So for me, Toastmasters is the best. Anytime you get a speaking opportunity, take it. How can one contribute work with Toastmasters? Not sure I understand, but the contribution is that you'll be a better communicator and you will be chosen to present and you'll be seen as a leader and you'll get promoted. I hope that answers your question. Greetings from Guatemala. Hey. Look what he says, that John Maxwell, leaving the comfort zone is growing. Yeah, nobody ever grew in their comfort zone, sitting on their sofa.
So guys, any more questions to ask?
Don't forget about my book. You can find it on Amazon or Kindle. And then do connect with me on LinkedIn. Here's how you can contact me. Don't forget, you can send your resume to me. And that's really all I have for y'all today. Undergraduate student electrical engineering from Pakistan. Guide me. So can you guide me from where to start and grow uniquely? Oh boy, that's a that's a really tough question, Saif. I'd be happy to chat with you, like on LinkedIn or something. I'd be happy to review your resume. That's a start. Yeah, that's an interesting statement about if your master's or PhD is not related to your undergraduate, you may not get the job. That's true, but you'll get another job. SHEP, the question on SHEP, it's not for professionals. It's not global. It's only in the United States. It is for students mainly, and there are professional chapters. So I would say it's about 80% students and 20% professionals. And the professionals do mentor the students. And I often speak at FIU, Florida International, Florida Atlantic, University of Miami, Miami-Dade College, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical. I get to speak at colleges, which is my favorite thing to do, to speak to this next generation of leaders. Anything else? Any other comments?
I think that's it.
Is that it?
I guess so.
Okay, y'all have a great summit. Enjoy it, and please invite me back.
Yeah, sure, we will. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your esteemed presence.
You're
We're
very
actually
welcome.
very pleased to have you here and spare your valuable time for imparting your knowledge with our watchers. So before we conclude, I think we can just turn on our cams and take a virtual photograph, if that's fine with you.
Yeah, mine's on.
Chaitanya, can you please? Guys, if you can please turn on your cam, then we can take a virtual photograph and conclude the session. Just tell us when you're ready, Chaitanya, so that we can take a good photograph and remember this memory forever. Did you get a pic?
Not all the cameras are on.
Okay, take your time. Fine. Okay, thank you guys. I think that's it from our side. Thank you so much for sparing all of yours, including Sir yours, esteem and very precious time for us. And we are obviously looking forward to working with you soon. And I think that's the end from our side. Thank you so much, everyone, and you,
You're very
sir,
welcome.
especially. So I think that's
Thank
it.
you.
And thank you. Have a good day, everyone,
All
and
right.
we'll see you soon.
Happy holidays, everybody. Bye.
Bye, sir.